a little bit of a look at how I wanted you to consider this week's lab. So you're going to use Google Earth for part of it because we need to be able to demonstrate where you are taking your samples from. So this week, what your goal is to take 4 days worth of samples at two local sites, very localized. What we learn with climate is that we've got microclimates, which exist in very small areas, a couple of feet to a couple of meters in size, sometimes several meters in size, depending on what the feature happens to be. We've got local climate, which could be the size of a town. We could have regional climate, which is the size of a county or the size of eastern Ohio, and then continental climates, which get to be a little entangled, and then of course global climates when we talk about things like global change. So here what we want to do is analyze the difference between two microclimate sites. So you're going to choose two locations which are a quarter mile or greater from each other. They're going to have different characteristics, and out of those then characteristics, you're going to then determine or develop, a hypothesis on what may be the drivers between why you're going to get different temperature regimes or precipitation regimes here. So you're going to create a hypothesis or a null hypothesis and an alternate hypothesis that says the temperatures at site A will be higher than at site B, or there is going to be more rain at site B than there is site A. And then you're going to develop the alternate hypothesis to that, which just is adding a not to it. The temperature will not be higher at site A than site B. What this does is it sets up for either accepting or refuting the hypothesis or the alternate hypothesis. You will always accept one and reject the other. So we're going to then do that, take a look at a comparative analysis through hypothesis testing of the microsites, and you're also going to then go to NOAA's website, which I've given you the link for, and acquire the daily regional climate characteristics or weather characteristics, and then compare those microsites to what the satellite data is predicting for that day and which has manifested. And out of that, you're going to also produce a hypothesis that you're going to be able to later test. So what I really want you to do and understand here is getting to choose your locations. And it's Monday. So I'd like you to do this today if possible. I know it's a holiday and some of you are wisely taking the day off. But if you do start it today. If not, please start this tomorrow, which is Tuesday. All right, with Google Earth, before in our last assignment that we used Google Earth, we went straight to the launch Google Earth up in this corner, but you're going to go to Google Earth or Earth versions this time around. You're going to choose Google Earth on the web, and you're going to launch that. It's going to look essentially the same as the last sites that you launched. It's just small differences. All right, Google Earth launches, and this is what we look at. This was the last location that I was looking at. So you can see here's the Mahoning River. If I pull out, this is what we are finding in this area. So we've got, in this case, on the south side of the Mahoning, I have McDonald, and on the north side, I have Niles. So I've just happened to be here, so this is what I'm going to choose. So let's say I live in one of these homes here, or maybe in this apartment complex over here. I don't want you to make a big effort and trip through the neighborhood looking for anything complicated. I want you to choose sites that are quite different from each other. So when I first look at this location, if I zoom in, let's pretend that I live right in here. I might consider something like going to this empty parking lot right here where, the landscape is radically different than if I went to this little green space that looks like it's part of this complex, right? So I might go for a little walk, come around here, and then take some samples in here. And I would describe this area as I need to as looks like a little grassy area. In fact, I can see how they've mowed the lawn here. So this grassy area surrounded by trees. All right. Different from that, I would describe this parking lot area. It looks like it's unmaintained. And we've got basically a gravel parking lot surrounded by some grass, and it has two roads that parallel each side and a large building structure that has a red roof. So those are some of the characteristics I would use to describe this site. All right, this is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to break this session into two. So watch for the next one here.